What's up guys, Sean here, and in today's video I'm going to be reviewing the Viper Blades Storm. Viper Blades is a newer production knife company out of Italy, and this right here might look familiar to you, might have maybe some Hinder vibes, and that is because it is actually a Hinder design. So I guess Hinder leases out or sells the rights to some of his designs, or maybe he collaborated with the company and they designed it together. I don't know exactly how it works when a knife is sold as a Hinder design, but this is a very nice knife right here, very impressive. And no, this is not the factory edge on here. I put a beautiful mirror polished edge on this for its owner, and as many of you guys probably know by now, this knife belongs to Denise, as well as the rest of these blades on the table besides this one right here. This is my newest purchase, the Cutlery Shop exclusive Spyderco Paramilitary 2 Wharncliffe blade. They came out with this a couple years back, but they only did it in S30V blade steel, and I held off on getting it for them to drop it in XHP. Cutlery Shop does most of their exclusives in CTS XHP blade steel, which I happen to really love, and Spyderco does XHP really well. Insane performance, on par with all the other top dogs as far as the super steels go. So it's really cool stuff. And as you can see, I already put my own fresh edge on here, sharpen this bad boy at 15 degrees per side, and this thing is a cutting machine. I would say hands down this is the top cardboard destroyer for 2022. And when it comes to that cutting task, I absolutely love a Wharncliffe blade because it's essentially a extended, extremely sharp utility razor blade. And once I put an edge on it, it is definitely an extended utility razor blade. So I actually best tested this right out of the box, came in at 121. I just put my own edge on this yesterday and best tested it, came in at 70 off the stones. Then I stropped it on basswood with gunny juice, 6 micron, 3 micron, and 1 micron, and dropped the best score down to 60. So this is very sharp. Love this. And this is what I'm carrying today, along with, oh, it's not in my pocket, spared you guys the ramble. So set that off to the side, back to the task at hand. And yes, absolutely beautiful. This one right here reminds me of the Hinder half track, or maybe even the Hinder full track. I believe the size of this kind of falls right in between the two. It is larger than the half track, but smaller than the full track. So I guess you could call it a medium track. Blade steel is M390. We have a nice belt sand finish on the blade. Some nice purple G10 overlays over these milled titanium scales. Look at that milling. I am truly a sucker for fine detailed milling. Not only for the looks and the aesthetic, but also the function. I love the feel of it, the added grip. It's pleasing to the touch. So yeah, beautiful work. Really like what they did with this. And I've asked the question before, does zero tolerance make a better Hinder than Hinder knives does? And at the time, I was under the impression that Zero Tolerance was the only company that was producing knives that were Hinder designs. But then I stumbled across this guy. And then I stumbled across this guy. So that means that Rick Hinder allowed a knife company in Italy to use his design also. And now I have to beg the question, can Viper blades in Italy make a better Hinder than Rick Hinder can here in the USA? And here, let's go into the categories because I've done enough rambling. So for ergonomics, we get a perfect 5 out of 5. This knife is surprisingly ergonomic for as, kind of awkward some of the lines look. There is absolutely no hot spots to me personally, which is quite impressive. Really good size, fills out my hand decently. Not too big, not too small. Really like it. For the clip, we get a 4 out of 5. This is exactly the same as the standard Hinder clip that comes on all Hinder models. So I'll grab one of my XM18s. This is my XM18 3.5 inch Harpoon Spanto. And as you can see, we have the same exact clip. And I'll grab one more to show you. Here's my 3.5 inch slicer. Also the same clip. So I'm sure there are quite a few parts that are interchangeable from Hinder models with this knife right here, which that's really cool. I like that. And oh look, we have a filler tab also, and that appears to also, oh, hold on, I believe that is also the same size, so that's cool. You could swap out your clip and filler tab, probably swap out the hardware and all that good stuff. Very cool. But I gave it a 4 out of 5 because, well, it is a perfectly functional clip, no hot spots, good tension, easy in and out of pocket for the most part, except occasionally your pants will get kind of snagged and caught in between the clip and the scale. It's just kind of a inherent design flaw with this clip. Not a super big deal. So 4 out of 5 is an above average score for an above average clip, but it's not great, so can't give it a perfect score. For carry, we get a 4 out of 5. This knife does carry pretty well. It is not the, it's not light as a feather. It's not like carrying a bug out. But overall, not too bad. One of the real issues is the fact that the clip gets caught sometimes, and it also sticks up a decent amount out of your pocket. So if you're wearing, thinner basketball shorts or something in the summertime, you have a lot of the weight up at the top of your pocket. It can easily kind of pop its way up like that and flip out of your pocket. So, one of the reasons that I like my knives a little bit further down into my pocket is because that kind of helps them stay where they belong when I'm not intending to remove them from my pocket. Kind of keeps you from losing them and, falling on the concrete and damaging it, anything like that. So yeah, that's why I deducted a point. Not a crazy big deal. And with jeans or anything that has some kind of more sturdy pockets, this is going to be absolutely fine. And for the action, I gave this a 5 out of 5. I kind of already went over the action. It is very smooth. It's on bearings. The detent is tuned very good. Not too strong, not too weak. You can easily thumb flick it. You can also easily, maybe not so easily, middle finger flick it. But yeah, not too difficult. Pretty easy. So I like thumb flicking this with this detent. And it is a sub frame lock, so no matter where you place your fingers over here, you're not going to be increasing or decreasing the detent strength. So that's kind of cool too. Moving on to the hardware, we get a 5 out of 5. The hardware on this is all oversized, with an exception to the clip and filler tab screws. But we have nice big T10 for the pivot, T10 for the handle screws back here. Same deal on this side, T10 pivot and T10 for the handle screws. And for the clip screws, that is T6s. But you know, if you get quality TORX drivers, a T6 is just fine. You're not going to have any issues. Just get quality TORX drivers, not bits, not WIHA bits. Don't listen to Metal Complex. I don't care what anybody says. Get the WIHA soft touch TORX drivers. Here, I'll grab one. Here, I grabbed 2 of them. Okay? These. This is what you want. This is what you need. Do not settle for anything other than these. I don't care what anybody tells you. These are hands down the best TORX drivers in the industry for working on knives. That's why if you see videos of different knife companies, production facilities, their factories, their knives are being assembled with these drivers. I use these drivers every single day and have for well over a year. They still are the original drivers. Still work absolutely perfectly. No slack or deformation on the head of the TORX drivers. They are nice hardened steel. You have good leverage. You have a nice slim shaft, so you can get in those tight or hard to reach areas on certain knives when you're unscrewing the clip screws, certain stuff like that. Just trust me. I'm not getting into this in every single video, even though that I have. But yeah, these are linked in the description of every video. If you use my Amazon link, it will give me a small commission. The full set of these is like $30, guys. I will never recommend anything to you that I don't personally use and, you know, believe in and know that's quality product and works firsthand experience. Like I said, I've been using these for well over a year. I purchased these with my own money. I don't have any affiliation with WIHA. I'm recommending these 2 guys to help you guys out and save you guys all the headaches of, you know, the possibility of damaging your screws. You can completely mitigate all those risks by getting yourself a set of these. Okay, end of rant. Back to the okay. So, moving on. Aesthetic. For the aesthetic, I gave it a 5 out of 5. Man, I thought this knife looked good before. It's unique, and the milling really is what did it for me. But after I put my edge on this thing, oh my gosh, that really just put it over the top. Now this thing is really sexy. So, 5 out of 5 for the aesthetic. For the price, I gave it a 5 out of 5. This comes in at $220 or $230, which is an absolute steal. That is in lower that comes in lower than the zero tolerance 0562 carbon fiber version or the titanium version, which those are basically very similar to the XM18 3.5 inch. Well, this is very similar to the half track or the full track, kind of somewhere in the middle. So you're looking at all right, it's too early. I can't do all the math and all in my head right now, but just trust me, it is a killer deal, and you're definitely getting your money's worth at that price point. And I believe they sell these at Knife Center, I think is where I saw it. Not sure what other places. I don't know what other dealers carry Viper Blades knives, but yeah, definitely worth taking a look into. Very impressed with this. Excellent price. Fit and finish is a perfect 5 out of 5. It is right there on par with, or probably actually better than what I've seen from Hinder. And I've been very impressed with Hinder in the past, so that's not a stab at Hinder. They make very, very nice knives, okay? They just suck at sharpening them. So here's one with an actual Hinder titanium scale. Very, very nice, okay? But yeah, right on par with that. For the acoustics, it gets a 4 out of 5. Lost a point. The acoustics are not bad, but it does not have the same acoustics as my XM18s do. I've never handled any of the half track or full track or Jurassic or any of those other models, so I'm not sure what they sound like, but it's not bad, not great, just kind of it's above average. Sometimes it sounds good if you flick it really hard, but yeah, 4 out of 5. Moving on, lockup gets a 5 out of 5. Rock solid lockup with this subframe lock. And for the lock bar access, also gets a perfect 5 out of 5. Look at this. You have okay, so the lock bar is actually raised up a good bit in comparison to the show side liner or frame, whatever you want to call it. And it does have that textured milling inside of it, so your finger grabs it. It does not feel aggressive, but it's very easy to manipulate. And there's not an overly insane amount of tension on that lock bar, so you can disengage it very easily. Very smooth, no lock stick, no lock rock, no blade play. Executed very well. For the factory edge, I gave it a 5 out of 5. Like I said, the factory edge was very sharp, and it had held up to tons of EDC cutting tasks. When Denise bought this, she was the second owner. She bought this second hand, and the original owner had put it through some light use, and then she had put it through some light use. So that's 2 different owners light using this knife, and it was still sharp enough to almost sharp enough to cut phone book paper. It was still sharp enough to shave. It was sharp, so very impressed. For the blade, I put down 4 out of 5. Not quite sure why I gave it a 4 out of 5. Maybe because it's not the sliciest, but yeah, it's not really intended to be a slicer. I think it's kind of intended to be like a little pocket tank, maybe more of a self-defense roll that's capable of whatever else you want to use it for. So no issues with the blade, and I'm gonna actually give that a 5 out of 5. And also part of the blade category is the blade steel. We have M390, and it seems to be done pretty well. I mean, it took a nice sharp edge, and it held the factory edge for a long time, so it must be heat treated pretty well. Moving on to the handle. For the handle, we get a 5 out of 5, especially because it's this unique design where you have kind of like a G10 overlay over this milled titanium frame that's milled on the inside and outside of the lock bar and the frame of the knife. The entire thing is milled with this very nice, intricate little clean, it's like simple but elegant milling. So really like that. It feels good in hand. It looks cool. Just good all around. Good palm filling design. Ergonomic. Can't go wrong. So next category is centering. Got a perfect 5 out of 5. Look at that, guys. That is beautiful. That's top-notch quality right there. This is really good stuff. Very impressive. I keep saying that, but you know, I don't have any affiliate with Viper Blades. I will never get a dime from them. So I'm not telling you that this knife is impressive just, you know, for my health or for my financial gain. I actually truly like this knife. For cutting, I gave it a 3 out of 5. This is not your, you know, it's not very slicey, and so your flat comes down almost halfway from the spine. It's still really thick up here at the spine. They didn't thin it out at the spine. They bring this thickness all the way down, and then you have maybe, you only have from the bottom of that flat to the edge for it to taper down and thin out, which isn't much space. And I know that they weren't trying to make this thin. You could always get this reground, you know, whatever you want to do. It's not necessary unless you really want this knife specifically to be a laser beam for you. But you know, it is what it is. It will cut, you know. It's just not going to cut as good as something with better cutting geometry. So that's kind of self-explanatory. That's just the name of the game. For materials, we also, now for materials, it gets a 5 out of 5. We have, you know, premium blade steel. We have very nicely milled titanium. We have, you know, I'm not sure if it's on steel bearings or ceramic bearings, but you know, it's high quality. Even the G10 is high quality. So good stuff. 5 out of 5 for materials. Fidget factor, I gave it a 5 out of 5. This thing is very easy to fidget. It has, like I said, the D10 is tuned very well. The lock bar does not hurt your finger, or the lock bar does not get uncomfortable no matter how much you flick this. You could do this all day and your fingers will not get irritated from it or sore from it, whatever. So for someone that likes to flick their knife non-stop, this might be a good option for you. For the design, I gave this a 5 out of 5. I think it's a really cool design. And if I'm correct, this kind of fills in that gap between the half track and the full track, which gives you a nice EDC size for a female hand or a smaller hand. It's going to be, a full size knife. But I have like a size large hand, and for me it's just, regular. It's not too small. It's a good size for everyday carry, just regular everyday task. So they really did something cool here, and I appreciate Viper Blades for doing that and making essentially a hinder or a very nice rendition of one available to the market at an affordable price. This is $220. That's half the price that you're going to pay for pretty much any hinder. So, and you're not getting half the knife, you're getting just as much knife, I promise you. And yeah, like I said, you can't go wrong with it. It's very, very impressive. Lastly, for the value, obviously I gave it a 5 out of 5 because when everything's all said and done, you're not going to find too much out there that compares to this for any less. 9 times out of 10 is certainly going to cost a lot more. In many cases, twice as much. But it's really kind of its own deal. It's in a league of its own, and it's compatible with some of the hinder hardware. So hinder knives, they do all kinds of optional hardware sets in different finishes, different anodization. Sometimes they do limited editions or sprint runs, exclusives, whatever, limited runs of different hardware. So there's a good chance that you would be able to use that stuff with this, which I think that's really cool. So we have a total score of 95 out of 100. That is a very high score, and this is definitely a knife that I would highly recommend. I hope you all enjoyed this review. I think that's going to wrap it up for this one. So I thank you all for watching. Thank you guys for being here with me. I love you guys. Jesus loves you. Stay tuned, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.